Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley is a match that wrestling fans have never been promised per se, even though certain wrestlers have, but which would be sorely missed if the moment never came. When you talk about dream matches, these two big guys slapping meat is kind of the dream. Almost every interview undertaken with Bobby Lashley features the same question and the same answer. Do you want to face Brock Lesnar? Hell yeah, I do. So if the fans want to see Leslie versus Lesnar, if the fans want to see Lesnar versus Lashley, and the wrestlers want to see I'm going to try this one more time. The L's are confusing me. So if the fans want to see Lesnar versus Lashley, and the wrestlers want to see Lesnar versus Lashley, why haven't we had the opportunity to see the match? Well, the problem is that Brock Lesnar is dodging the match. Hi everyone, I'm Tom Colohue, and today we're going to talk about Brock Lesnar dodging the fight with Bobby Lashley. We talk about wrestling news that nobody else covers right here on the Tom Colohue channels, so if you want to stay up to date with what's going on backstage in the wrestling world, make sure you click like and subscribe for more from this channel. When Bobby Lashley first returned to the WWE, it was with a mind to taking on Brock Lesnar. He's been very open about that fact. In fact, he has at no point hidden it, either publicly or privately. During contract negotiations for his most recent contract, I can confirm that the WWE assured him that a match with Brock Lesnar was coming up in his future. But, despite a very strong half-year run as the WWE Champion, Lesnar never came close to feuding with or even wrestling once with Bobby Lashley. Now, there was a plan in place, here's a bit of an exclusive for you, to have Brock Lesnar take on Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam. There was a plan that was put together in the build-up to Lesnar's return, but Lesnar apparently wasn't interested. Many individual aspects of the push towards that match, the build towards it, simply made Lesnar unhappy with developments. So instead, the WWE called in Goldberg, and Lesnar instead got what he wanted. An immediate feud with the top heel in the company, Roman Reigns. Lesnar has been a face ever since, something that hasn't happened since about 2003. And despite briefly being announced as a free agent between SmackDown and Raw, Brock Lesnar is currently firmly on the blue brand and has been engaged in a feud with Roman Reigns, which looks set to last at least 6 months. He has come back early for day one, and he may have come back early for SummerSlam. Now, Paul Heyman, during interviews, in speaking on Lesnar's behalf, has shed some light on Lesnar's apparent lack of interest in the match. Unfortunately, it's not enough light. All that he's really said is that he's aware of it, that it's real, and that Lesnar is simply not interested. Heyman's explanation has only really covered the phrase, "Thanks, but no thanks." Or if you're a music fan, "Thank you, next." For me, that's not enough. What is actually going on that is preventing a match that Bobby Lashley at least is very excited for and that so many fans are craving? Rumours backstage suggest that Lesnar is particularly dodging out of the fight with Bobby Lashley because, at least when the pitch came to wrestle at SummerSlam, he was booked to lose. Brock is apparently comfortable losing in some circumstances, but is not comfortable taking the loss to Lashley. I'm really confusing my L's here. And it's the loss to Lashley. The reason for this is UFC and MMA related. Brock looks at wrestling with a journeyman figure, a journeyman standard. Essentially, he looks at wrestling as being something that he can basically write off. Yes, I lost to someone in a wrestling match, but it doesn't really count. It's wrestling. It's fake. Brock does not look at the UFC in that way, where he is a dedicated and decorated combat athlete. He is very well celebrated in that field and is able to essentially excuse certain losses that he has taken. If he is lining up, for example, against Bobby Lashley, that doesn't just feel like a wrestling match. That feels like something bigger. So while Brock is comfortable taking a loss in a wrestling setting, Brock is also known to be a fierce and genuine combat athlete, and this can also be said of Bobby Lashley. This is a large part of the problem. a loss to Bobby Lashley isn't just a loss in wrestling circumstances. When Lesnar took on Cain Velasquez, if you all can remember that very, very brief combat feud, he destroyed him with relative ease. That was not something on offer here. The only thing on offer was Bobby Lashley picking up the win, and this could have potentially damaged Lesnar's credibility with the UFC. While this match could still happen, there is no value to the WWE in having Lesnar pick up the win. Meanwhile, Bobby Lashley will eventually have a new contract to negotiate. He has been repeatedly promised a match with Lesnar, and those promises have not been upheld. If I'm Lashley, I'm not exactly being convinced to stick around.